Was in that.
Hello.
Hi.
Hey, this is Zeb.
Hi, Zeb.
Just us?
Yeah. I used Waze and it told me to get off like it's nothing, and I was right in that motor immediately.
Yeah.
The way to do it. Yeah, it made it the interstate.
I've learned not to disobey.
Yeah, that's exactly right. That's exactly right. If
it's telling you something,
yeah, that's exactly right.
Because I disobeyed it one time when it was raining so hard downtown, it got caught. I mean, my computer.
How about those two who left the cars in Lily Park? Came back and all their cars.
Chris is going to get us. Let me see what Darwin's on.
Trying to sort through how to.
Medical University. And she lost her car the 17th. Nancy Morrow ran.
Darwin, are you still there?
I am. I'm here. You hear me okay?
Yeah, I can hear you.
I hear you
Wait,
too.
but
There he
okay.
is.
I hear you just fine.
Roger, read you Lima Charlie.
So we don't know about Zeb.
He's on the line.
He's on the
Zeb's
phone.
online.
He's on.
Okay.
That was terrible.
All right. I'd like to call the meeting to order. Appreciate, got a good crowd here. Appreciate everybody taking time to be with us today. We'll start approval of the agenda. If there, you've got the agenda before you. There is one thing I just want to, if it's all right with you guys, there's an introduction recognition we'd like to do real quick after the approval of the minutes. That's all right. And if there are no objections to that, the minutes will, or the agenda will stand approved as presented. You've received the minutes.
You still there?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
I'm going to text Wayne and let him know that we can hear each other, but not the meeting.
Okay. Yeah, I don't see it either.
Allison?
Yep.
I think it's you can't hear us. You can't hear us, guys?
Okay.
How about now?
Can you hear us? Darwin's there?
Yes.
I do.
You do? Okay. All right.
Yeah.
Thank you.
All right. Minutes you've received. Are there any changes to the minutes? If not, and if there are no objections, they'll stand approved as presented. Allison?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. As I think everybody knows, we had a bit of a surprise storm on December the 17th, and we had a need we discovered to put ballast on the ship. It was we had tides that were 4 feet over the predicted amount, and as everybody knows, the ship moved, and I got a lot of credit for that, but it was not me trying to get the ship underway. But we had some folks that really stepped up and were absolutely heroic that afternoon. It was a Sunday afternoon, the week before Christmas, and lots of good football on, lots of good shopping and family time. And we discovered that we needed to add ballast to the ship in the late afternoon. And David Coates came on as soon as we saw the issue, recognized it needed to be done, called his crew, and they were all over here to rebalance the ship, and worked well into the night and tirelessly, and actually were pretty excited to get to take on a really engaging project. So I want to give David an opportunity. David Coates is our director of ships maintenance, and just does a phenomenal job. And I would like for David to introduce his crew that came in and did the ballast.
Be happy to. So what we have here is about a quarter of our crew of 21 people. We had 5, and it was no trouble getting a hold of them. Most of our people, and there was others we could have called too, who would have been happy to have responded in an emergency and do on a weekend basis, in duty rosters and rotations and things like that. But this one just happened to be a special emergency. So I called a couple of supervisors. I called David Kratz, who is the general services or general repair shop supervisor, and Randy Stevens, who is our ship fitter shop supervisor. And they got on the horn and they called their people. So, they got a hold of, just so happens, the people we call first are the people that showed up. So we didn't have to go very deep in our roster. Melvin Graham, he is our general repair shop. He's our only pipe fitter on board. Does a great job. Nicholas Mann, he's a welder. He's in the ship fitter shop, does an excellent job. And Donald Malloy, he is also a welder in the ship fitter shop. And they showed up, and some of them live 40 miles from here, but they came in, they done what they had to do. We got the ship settled back down and safely nestled on the bottom again.
All right. You guys stand up. You guys stand up, guys. It wasn't a pleasant morning when I got that phone call. You know, and it just never ceases to amaze me what our maintenance and our entire operations staff does on a daily basis. But that day and the concerns about ballast, I was just absolutely amazed, David, what you guys did. That it is nice to know we have you here. Thank you guys for everything you do.
Thank you.
They are heroic every day. We're really so lucky to have such a great team. And I just want to add, you know, in addition to everything that this crew came in and did, we had a lot of other folks who really had to step right up and be quick on their feet and think fast. Our security team helped close the ship down safely and smoothly. Drew Barrett and the volunteers that were here were tremendously helpful. Austin Poisson, our events coordinator, very sharply noticed an issue to even identify that the ship had moved. You don't feel the ship move, but he noticed where there was a little separation in the stairway, and so he immediately got on top of it and made calls and got it going. And our directors, Chris Jones, our chief of staff, Chris Howe, Gina Zahan, immediately, you know, got their teams going, took care of everything. You would have thought we did this every Sunday. It was just smooth as silk. And of course, I cannot forget Frank Shorter and his hoses.
Yeah.
Just the most amazing story in the world that we used Frank's hoses that he had collected to do the ballast, and he was a little upset that they got dirty, so he went out and got more hoses to replace the ones that had been used, and he handed them over to maintenance. So it was just very, very smooth. Thank you guys so much.
That's an awesome story. That's a great job. Appreciate, as always, everything the staff does. I mean, we're really proud to have y'all here. Okay. Tom Mondale. Tom is here. Saw him come in.
He's right here.
Oh, there. Okay, Tom, with the Medal of Honor Leadership and Education Center, and I'd asked Tom a while ago to join us today and give us an update on what the Leadership and Education Center is doing. Tom?
Thank you so much. I apologize for being a few minutes late. I got carried away asking the designer questions down in the renovation of the museum downstairs, and so when I looked at my watch, I said, "Oh my God, John, we got to get out of here and go." So, Mr. Chairman, I apologize. Do we have a clicker for that? Or do you want me to just?
We should.
He's got it.
There you go, Tom.
Thank you. Just this way to advance it?
Just the mouse button.
Oh, okay. So thank you for having us here. I'm going to like to update the board on where we are with our programming and where we're headed for this year and what we've accomplished in the 2 years since, actually 2 years, March 1st will be my 2-year anniversary leading the organization. And so delighted to share with you some of the advancements that we've made since we've been here. Actually, you're getting a first look at, our board has seen this and approved it, but there will be a complete rollout. This is our new logo. And actually, we're in a complete brand new branding situation right now where we're going to be announcing in February that we changed our logo and actually our name as well, because you can see after great debate, we decided to leave the word national in our name. And so it's going to be the National Medal of Honor Center for Leadership. And that's where we're going to be moving, and you hear a lot more about that the first couple weeks of February. Just roll that. Okay. This button?
Yes.
Okay, thank you. As you can see, our vision is to be a nation united, empowered by the values of the Medal of Honor. As you can see, the values that we're talking about, there's 6 pillars that are courage, integrity, commitment, sacrifice, citizenship, and patriotism. We believe we're coming to the market at a great time simply because our country is going to be turning 250 years old in 2 years. There's a lot of things nipping around the edges of our country right now that a lot of people are unhappy with. If you look at values, I think there was a study done by Wall Street Journal about 6 months ago that said our values as a country are eroding at a rapid pace. An example is family values were at 78%. Now they're at 38% 10 years after they started this survey. It's a startling. Patriotism is at an all-time low in our country. You can see that evidenced what's happening on our university campuses across the nation right now, particularly as it relates to the Israeli conflict and everything else. And we feel these are timeless values that we can actually help instill into America's citizens, that these are things that need to come back in our country that were once very prevalent throughout our nation. Our mission, very similar to our vision, to inspire, develop, and empower leaders with the values of our nation's Medal of Honor recipients. The challenges, why is this so important to us? And we believe, as I said earlier, the challenges, opportunities we'll face individually and as a nation will determine what kind of life, communities, institutions, and a global role. And as you can see, if you look and listen to some of the news pundits out there, our global role as a country is even diminished right now because we're not as well respected as a country universally across the world as we once were. And also is what kind of America do we want to build the future for our children, our grandchildren, and so forth. This is Ryan Pitts. He's actually a young Medal of Honor recipient from Afghanistan. He's actually participated, and I'll show you in a little bit, some of the programs that we've done in the last couple of months. He says that our lifetimes are full of moments and decisions that hinge upon the pillars of the Medal of Honor. The National Medal of Honor Leadership and Education Center programming will help people prepare themselves to meet their own moments. One of the things that we believe in this program is all of us, as we go through our lives, there are certain moments in our lives that define how we will move forward or what decision. There's only 2 ways you can go. You can move forward, you can move backwards, or make a regression in your career based on the decisions that you make. So we're trying to, through this program and the values of the Medal of Honor, we are trying to develop citizens as they move forward to make a better decision that will affect them, their careers, their family, ultimately their communities. But we also added one other pillar to the 6 pillars of the Medal of Honor. We believe that service is another component that needs to be accomplished in our communities. And we feel that if part of our program could get people inspired to do things in their communities, we will be a much better off nation and state as well. So Ryan, I think, hit it right on the head right there. Let me tell you a little bit about our programs. We've done 3. We did one at the University of South Carolina in August. We had 84 participants, and I'll show you a little bit. We did one at the Citadel here in Charleston in November, and we had 124 citizens and several of the cadets from the Citadel who in the audience as well. And then in December 8th, the day before the Army-Navy game, which was played in Gillette, we did a program up at the Seaport Hotel and Conference Center, and we had 254 standing room only people. Robert Kraft and the New England Patriots were one of our sponsors. Coach Bill Belichick, as you've been seeing in the news quite a bit, he's no longer the coach of the Patriots. He was the other sponsor that we had. And then we had another company called Ansys Corporation, who was our other sponsor. And what we did was we had students from high schools there. We had ROTC students. We had active duty military folks there. We had retired military. We had university students. And we also had a lot of CEOs of major corporations there. Then the next day, we went, and actually Coach Belichick actually came to the leadership program that we put on, and I'll show you a little bit about the panel. But then we also had Robert Kraft had given us generously donated a suite right next door to his suite for the game. And from one who's never been to the Army-Navy game, it was kind of one of those bucket list things that you tick off, because watching the cadets from both of those service academies come onto the field and be there and represent our future of a lot of our leaders in the military was quite impressive unto itself. The game was great, but up probably to the last couple of minutes, that's when it really got good. But we had former chairmen of the Joint Chiefs of Staff. We had the current chairman of Joint Chiefs of Staff. We had the secretary or the chief of staff of the Army come up. Mr. Kraft came over and met with, we had 5 Medal of Honor recipients there. And it was just a tremendous afternoon for us. This is when we walked into the Alumni Center at the University of South Carolina. They had this on their wall right there. It was pretty impressive when you walked in. This is we had 4 panelists, and actually what we try to do is we always try to have 2 Medal of Honor recipients on our panels that we do. So this time we had Leroy Petrie and Kyle Carpenter, Medal of Honor recipients. Retired Admiral Margaret Kibben. She was the chief chaplain of the Navy. Currently, she's the chaplain of the United States House of Representatives. We had Donna Arnett, who's the provost, University of South Carolina, make some comments, and then Dr. Alan Lind, who's a leadership expert from Duke University, was made some comments, and then Charles Bolden is a former shuttle commander and also the administrator of NASA, and so he was actually part of the panel. So. It was a tremendous panel. This is what it looked like in the audience right there. It was actually completely full. We tried to keep it small because it was our first one that we did, and so we wanted to make sure it went off without a hitch. Our second one at the Citadel, we had 2 Medal of Honor recipients on the panel. We had Medal of Honor recipient Mike Thornton. He actually is a SEAL. Ryan Pitts, who you saw the quote. Oh, I'm sorry. Oh, how do I get it back?
Chris.
Or how do I get rid of that? Okay, thank you. So we had Mike Thornton, Ryan Pitts, a guy by the name of Mike Manazer, who was a Top Gun pilot when he was in the Navy. Then he also actually is a vice president for Boeing right now, has written a couple books on leadership. He was on the panel. Layla Gulen, who's actually a Fox anchor here in Charleston, she was the MC. And then Matisse Wright Springer, she's actually the first female African-American naval aviator in the history of the Navy. She's now a senior vice president at Booz Allen. She was on the panel. And then, of course, Mayor Tecklenburg and our illustrious mayor here in Mount Pleasant.
I have a much better picture now. Can I get that too?
Absolutely. We would love that, Will.
Thanks. That would be improved.
This is the panelists up there, and you can see that we had a lot of, the audience was completely full at actually at Capers Hall, which is their new building on campus. It was, I think, as Tommy Baker, one of our board members, this is the first one he went to, he said he was completely mesmerized by the questions and the answers by the panelists. And then in Boston, we had Tom Kelly, Medal of Honor recipient who resides in Boston, actually Vietnam vet. Ryan Pitts, Afghanistan Medal of Honor recipient. Active Major General John Richardson IV, and then Tom Lynch. I don't know if you've seen on Fox, probably. He does a lot of commercials for New Day, which is a veterans loan organization. Tom was a captain of the football team at the Naval Academy, former superintendent at the Naval Academy. He was on the panel as well. And what Tom was talking about was what values he's learned. And there's a quote from him in a little bit later on. Tom Hudner is actually, how many of you seen the movie Devotion?
Yeah.
Tom Hudner's father was actually the wingman for Jesse Brown. And so his father won the medal, not won, but was awarded the Medal of Honor. This is a little bit about the panel. You can see Coach Belichick in the middle there, some ROTC students, Catholic Mission High School students over to the right, and a bunch of questions and everything. Very, very diverse group. Some of the quotes from some of our panelists to say, to aspiring young future leaders, choose moral courage, the courage to choose the hard right instead of the easy wrong. That was from General Richardson. You want to praise people in public and disapprove what they do in private. Never confuse the two. Use mistakes as teachable moments. That was from Matisse Wright. And then put others first. Think about yourself last, and you will have a very successful marriage, business career, etc. Be selfless. And we know that our Medal of Honor recipients are that as well in spades, and that was from Tom Lynch. And then we also believe that as our program, leaders aren't born. They're actually developed and made through the course of their lifetime and what learnings they do. So our whole program is about meet your moment as we go forward. This is a rendering of our new Center for Leadership here at Patriots Point. As you can see, Ravenel Bridge off to the right. In fact, when you came into the parking lot today, you would have seen the guard shack there where you pay your money to park, which probably none of us did today. But the interesting thing about it is our building is going to sit right on that site right there. And then Michael Bennett's project is going to be right off to the left. This is the floor plan. I'm sorry, a lot of you really can't see it, of our first floor of our center. We started off, when I came here, we were going to be building a museum. And we have completely done a 180-degree change because we made a $3.5 million commitment to renovate the museum here, the Medal of Honor Museum here in New Yorktown. So we figured that a lot of our potential donors that we're talking to said, why would you guys want to build another Medal of Honor museum 250 yards away from where there's going to be a new one? And we started thinking, said, you know what? We don't want to compete against the Medal of Honor. We have a great collaborative relationship with them. What we want to do then is say, we're a leadership-based organization. Let's take our first floor of our building that was going to be a museum and actually turn it into an immersive, interactive leadership journey. And so the way you look at this is if you look at the little triangle on the bottom left of the screen right there, that's going to be the entrance into the leadership experience. And it's actually titled, We Are Americans. And by doing that, we're saying that we're all similar. We all live in this great country. We all have diverse backgrounds, but there's a commonness that unites us. Then you go into what we call the Medal of Honor stories. One of the things that we want to make sure is that part of our obligation as an organization affiliated and collaborating with the Medal of Honor Society is we have an obligation to continue to tell the stories of the Medal of Honor recipients. 3,517 since the Civil War. 65 living right now. 48 of them are from Vietnam. Average age is 82 years old. General Livingston told us at a board meeting a couple months ago that literally 10 years from now, we're going to probably have less than 30 living recipients among us. We need to tell the stories all over and over and over. And I think President Lincoln said it best years and years ago. A nation that does not honor its heroes will not long endure. And thankfully, we do honor our heroes, but we must continue to do that. Then you go out of that site, you go into leadership and values journey. That's on the top right. And then on the left of that, you look at, you don't have to be a Medal of Honor recipient to be a leader. You don't have to be in the military to be a leader. You can do every ordinary day, citizens do extraordinary things. And the Medal of Honor Society recognizes that in a Citizens Honors Program in March every year, which is Medal of Honor Day up in Washington, D.C. So for instance, two things I just want to share with you. Last year, they honored two people. One, a teacher whose school was in an active shooter situation. She actually was on the first floor of the building. The shooter had broken the barricade into her classroom. She shielded her students while they could escape through the windows, and she herself was shot multiple times and died in her classroom, but every one of her students got out. So the Medal of Honor recipients honored her. The next one was a young African-American boy, not from Pittsburgh, but from a small little town outside of Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania, rather impoverished little town, small. He actually was on his way to play basketball with his friends. He saw three little kids had broken through the ice and were drowning. He actually went in, saved all three of them, went back home. His father said, "Why are you all wet?" He goes, "Dad, I helped a couple kids down the road." He goes, "I have to change clothes, go back and meet with my friends and play some basketball." Well, as you know, in a small little town like that, word gets around what happened quite rapidly. So March 25th, he was supposed to be there 2 weeks before the event. He was actually gunned down in a drive-by shooting in his home little town there in Pennsylvania. It was really gut-wrenching to watch his parents actually accept the award 2 weeks after he had just, been killed in a thing. So those are the kind of everyday heroes that none of us even think about it, but we respond to those things. That's what we're all about, saying that we all as a country can do incredible things. We just don't know when that moment's going to be. Our Medal of Honor recipients, of course, showed that in spades, literally in combat, and that's how we recognize it. The second floor is going to be a complete center for leadership. It's going to be a place where we can actually, through the internet, beam things out to different places. And then also we can host events there because it's going to be looking out over the water. We have a big terrace. We also have some of our offices there. We were going to partner with the Congressional Medal of Honor Society because their offices were going to move over. But they've become so comfortable here on the Yorktown. Allison and her team have made it so great, they don't want to leave. But then they also said they were going to move the archives over, and they said, no, the safest place is on the Yorktown. It survived Hugo with no problem and everything. And then a couple of months after that, it moved 11 inches? I know you were just talking about that. So this is a picture of what's going to happen. That's a picture on the bottom right of our new center. if you see those stripes, those metal stripes on the outside, they sit outside our 2-story lobby, which is all glass. As the sun sets over the Charleston Harbor, as each hour that goes by, those stripes will actually look like they're waving on the floor of the lobby, but they actually represent the stripes on the flag. And so that's what the design is all about. It's 50,000 square feet. All in, it's going to cost $75 million. We're in a campaign to raise the money for that. We're just getting close to the $20 million mark right now. And so that's where we are. Inside is just a picture of some of the immersive exhibits. And then the last picture on the top left is literally the Medal of Honor gallery. Did you all know that as a proportion of population, South Carolina has percentage number of Medal of Honor recipients greater than any other state in our country? So if you want to know how many of those recipients resided in the state of South Carolina, you could press a button. It'll tell you all their stories. Every recipient from the Civil War till now will be featured in there, and you can just go click on their picture and it'll tell you everything about why they awarded the Medal of Honor, but it will also tell you about what they did with their lives if they survived and didn't pay the ultimate price, what they did with their lives after they left the military. And so for us, what we're asking today is how can anybody help us? And it says, join us and help us inspire American leadership throughout our country. Spread the word. Connect us with people who can help. Support our education program and invest in the future of America. That's what we're asking people to do. And then literally, I got a little video here that you may have seen because it's actually, I don't know, can he play that from over there? Can you play that there? Well, it's a video that was done by the Medal of Honor Society, and it talks about what's going to be planned here at Patriots Point. It shows kind of a footprint of when Michael Bennett's new hotel facilities are built and the conference center. You're going to have a new War on Terror village here. The Vietnam village is going to be relocated, and it shows a picture of how all that fits into Patriots Point. We just had a meeting with the town. In fact, every stakeholder that we have here at Patriots Point had a meeting there and talked about how we're going to make this 425 acres a world-class tourist destination. Right now, if I'm not wrong, I think about 350,000, 400,000 people come here annually. My guess is when this is all finished, it's going to become a world-class destination. But more importantly, I actually think it's going to become a place where 1 million or so people come here and stay right here at Patriots Point. So I think it's going to become one of the most important destinations throughout the country. You're talking about an incredible piece of property that probably most states would salivate over that this actually exists. So if you can't do it, that's okay.
I'd like to see it. They can get it up. So just
It's only like about a minute video, but it's actually pretty good. It shows you what the museum's going to look like. As you probably know, the museum's going to open Memorial Day. I think maybe the 15th of May it's going to open. But we're proud to be one of the major sponsors of the renovations that's going on. And then now I want to talk about probably what the board wants to talk more than anything. So I just want to share with you, most people ask on our leadership program, who's our target audience? The target audience to me is anybody from kindergarten all the way to when they finally leave this earth. And so we have many different modalities. Oh, there it goes.
Our nation's success depends on heroes who have sacrificed in the service of their country. Their courage protected our country and are an inspiration to us all. Soon, their stories will come alive. Because in May 2024, in Mount Pleasant, South Carolina, the Congressional Medal of Honor Society will welcome the new, renovated Medal of Honor Museum on the USS Yorktown at Patriots Point. A completely redesigned, reimagined experience, embracing the core values of America's highest honor, the Medal of Honor. Courage, integrity, commitment, sacrifice, citizenship, and patriotism. Values as American as apple pie, at a location designated by Congress over 20 years ago. The renovated museum will bring these values to life through interactive and immersive exhibits, not just in the museum's footprint, but but throughout the USS Yorktown, USS Laffey, and the landside Vietnam Fire Base, all that have Medal of Honor actions tied to the exhibits. Visitors will experience the true potential of one person's impact on the world through the stories of those who have gone above and beyond, the Medal of Honor recipients. And when paired with a $550 million redevelopment of Patriots Point, with hotels, state-of-the-art conference center, restaurants, shops, and the future National Medal of Honor Leadership and Education Center, the area will welcome even more than the over 400,000 visitors it welcomes now. This museum is your museum, honoring all 3,517 Medal of Honor recipients. It's a home for recipients, their families, and all of America to embrace and find inspiration. It's a hallowed hall to honor the sacrifice and inspire the future. The newly renovated Medal of Honor Museum, a museum for the extraordinary, opening in May of 2024.
Mr. Chairman, how much time, do I have any time left? Because what I would like to do is share the financials, because I'm sure that this board would like to know where we are with our fundraising progress.
Absolutely. Go ahead.
I apologize to the audience here who's sitting in the seats, but this is, now I'm dealing with some financial situation with our where we are, because one of the big questions that everybody is concerned about is how's our fundraising going? And so I want to answer that, and also want to talk a little bit about some of the challenges that we've encountered throughout 2023, if you will, because a couple things changed significantly. We actually have we've spent an enormous amount of time and effort of rebuilding our board into a national board, and a diverse board, because when I first joined the organization here, we were pretty much a low country centric board, and we were pretty white. And so we had very few female representation on our board. In fact, if I'm not mistaken, Susan may have been the only board member who was female on our board at that time. And so we have, as you would expect, Patriots Point Development Authority has 2 representatives they can put on our board. James Smith is one, he sits on our executive committee, and Susan Marlowe is the other. And so they're appointed by this board right here. So we have spent enormous time, effort, and money recruiting a very diverse national board and some nationally prominent people. So I've given them a listing of our board members, and we've actually added 2 new board members just this last month. But what I really want to share, and hopefully I can speak to the board here, is this is our financial position as of December 31st of 2023, which, as you'd expect, is the latest and greatest of our financial statements. At our December board meeting, which was December 11th, we were 99% completed with our audit. Actually, probably had gone the smoothest that it had ever gone in the history of our organization. All hell broke out the week before the board meeting. And by that I mean, it's surrounded, so far we received $6 million from the state of South Carolina, $3 million from the town of Mount Pleasant, and $5 million from the county of Charleston. Most of those gifts, with the exception of the towns, it is restricted to build a museum here at Patriots Point. So we're going to be working with the town and talking about, now that we've kind of changed our course, we're still building the same footprint building, but we have changed from being a museum to a leadership center. So we got to talk to the town and be very transparent. And I'm trying to be here as transparent as we possibly can. Fundraising so literally, and we have several other major donors. In fact, we have 3 donors that are at $1 million level. Our board has contributed $2,100,000. And now we have in our board right now, when they come on board, when they sign the board responsibilities, they can actually make a gift up to their first year, but they have to make a gift. And we say that and state that, and they sign that as well. Most of our new board members are bumping up in March to being on the board for a year. So we don't have 100% board participation right now, simply because the board members, according to the agreement we struck with them, they have until March to step up, and we're putting proposals in front of them. And that actually will raise that up to 100%. That's very important, because when we work with the town, we work with the county, we work with the state, the first question they ask is, how many of your boards support your campaign? And if the answer is not 100%, if I was those organizations, I would say, well, if the people closest to you don't make a gift, why should we? And so that's the most important thing. So what happened was, when the state gave us the $4 million from the earmark that was done on June of 2022, and we got the gift in December of 2022, we were unaware that there was a signed document from our previous administration that actually signed this document that basically unrestricted $1 million of the 4, but then put a plug figure in and restricted the remaining $3 million to construction. Well, the problem is when you restrict the gift, you have to honor the restriction. The bad news for us is we were given instructions by our board to increase our staff, increase our fundraising, and so we started adding team members to us. And so we have 5 full-time people on our team right now. That means had to create a new retirement program, a new healthcare program, and everything else. And actually, the only instructions that we gave to those providers was, we want to be an employer of choice. That's it. So the program has to be one that actually not only is designed to recruit new team members to our team, but more importantly, to retain them, because we're a small group. If we lose one person, that is critical to our overall plans and success. So what happened was, all of the money that we thought was unrestricted had to go back and be reclassified. And so right now, since December 5th until now, we are actually trying to go back and reclass all of those gifts. And so what you will see in 2023, we got most of the low-hanging fruit that we could get. Now we're having to start a donor base. And who in here does any fundraising? Well, if you do, you have to understand one thing. It's a relationship-driven business. And the interesting thing about it is, we did not have an existing donor base like a university or a hospital does. We had to build it from scratch. And so we're actually right now, we have 85 major gift people in cultivation or in solicitation right now. Some of those are corporations, some of those are foundations. For instance, Boeing, Fidelity, American Express, the Robert Woodruff Foundation, all of those people we're talking to. We also had a great conversation with Fred Smith, the founder of Federal Express. It sounded like it was going to move swimmingly forward. In fact, his daughter actually bankrolled the movie Devotion, which we screened here on the Yorktown over this summer. We thought that, okay, Fred's probably going to we might be able to name our entire program or center, which is a $20 million naming opportunity, by the way, after FedEx. Fred came back after the holiday and said, you know what, I've given a lot of money to veterans organizations, a lot of military organizations, and I also funded your sister organization, who, by the way, was here previously and went to Arlington, Texas. He said, and I made a significant gift to them, so I think I've done my share. That was a real major blow, because as somebody who's been doing this for 40 years, I actually thought that was going to be a promising one. So you have to go back to the drawing board and say, all right, how can one say, all right, Fred's answer was just no for today. And so hopefully we can resurrect that back, but we're working on that. But we also fight the fact is, since we're associated with the Medal of Honor, a lot of people pigeonhole us into a military organization. We are not. We're a leadership organization grounded in the values of the Medal of Honor and a great collaboration with the society. So what we do right now is we have $6 million in assets. What it does not include right now is the $5 million gift that we had to take off the balance sheet, because there, unbeknownst to us, another document surfaced that said, given how the gift is funded by the county, which is a lodging tax, I guess it is, depending on how well the collection's going. By the way, state of South Carolina and our counties are flourishing, because South Carolina, I think, is one of the better performing financial states in the country right now. So I don't think that's in question at all. We had to then take it off and basically say, unfortunately, we cannot use it on our balance sheet. So basically, if you look at it, if you add that back, because they say they can change the terms of the gift or actually change the terms of the funding at any time they like. So it's not even a conditional pledge anymore. So the only thing we can do is we can count the money when we get it. And so far they've given, it's a 10-year pledge at $500,000 a year. We got $1 million so far, and we'll probably get another 500 in the next week or two. And so we have to submit some reporting to them and everything else, but we send them our budget and they approve it. The only thing we have to do is it has to be kind of directed towards tourism in the state of South Carolina. Well, as you can tell, everything that we do is related to the tourism industry. So a lot of folks are looking at us and say they're going to be bankrupt in a year or two. We're financially very stable, but we did one thing in the reclassification. And you'll see this, board members, on under the assets of the statement of financial position year to date, you will see an interfund due from. And what that is since we had to go back and reclass all of these, we had to take some restricted funds because we did not know they were restricted and actually say, we owe that fund that much money and we're keeping that to the penny. So basically, we're expecting a couple significant gifts from some of the folks that we've been working for the last year that will actually come and take that interfund due to away and make sure that we're honoring all the restrictions that our donors have given us. So the fact is our run rate right now, for a short term, it was about $220,000 a month, because now with adding 5 employees, they're also very highly paid people because of their positions. We also added a person which we stole from Blackbaud. We have a system called Blackbaud All True, which is basically a souped up version of the Razor's Edge. We've had it for 3 years. We brought it on before I was on board. The bad news about it is nobody knew how to run it. And so literally we're sitting there with this thing we're paying $25,000 a year for that nobody even knew how to put information to it or get information out. Finally, we hired somebody in December who actually is a master at manipulating the system and putting information in. And so we had to recruit somebody outside. But the good thing is we're on track right now. But essentially, if you look at, we're about 6.2 million. If you add the 5 million back from the county, we're at 11 million. And we will probably spend about $150,000 a month going forward. And the $1 million we just received last week from the state of South Carolina will ensure that we keep going for at least a short time, just on unrestricted monies as well. We just started the permitting process because we had a problem with parking, which has, thankfully, the town has put a meeting together and says, look, we all have a vested interest in actually solving the parking problem at Patriots Point. So the town actually enabled us to say, go ahead and start your permitting process going forward. So in January, which is this month, we started the process. It's going to take 18 months to go through the permitting process. And my guess is when we're finished with that 18-month permitting process, we will then begin construction. The building cost about $46 million to build itself, then 13.5 for the exhibits on the first floor. And then we have some contingencies. And then we also have a 5-year operating reserve in that $75 million. So I'm going into a lot of detail, and I apologize, because what I want to make sure is I want to answer any critic out there that says we're not good stewards of the money that has been given to us. We're very transparent, but we also want to give a timeline. And so once the permitting's done, I figure probably second quarter or third quarter of 2025, we will then go right into construction because we'll have enough money in the bank to do that because of what the fundraising I know that we're looking at. And then 2 years from that date, we will then cut the ribbon and open our building. And that will be sometime in 2027. So keep an eye on that because we'll keep the public posted. We'll keep the board here appraised of what's going on because our lease is with the Patriots Point Development Authority. And so we want to be very good stewards of what you have enabled us to do. But more importantly, we want to be as transparent as possible with your board to make sure that there's a lot of things going on in the community that we're suffering and all that stuff. Yes, 2023, we raised $400,000. That's it. But we were building, and we're very disciplined, and we're very focused on the fundraising task at hand. And so I'm very confident that with the 85 potential gifts, relationships that we have going on, I suspect that at least a third of those will come in at the expected levels that we're looking at. And by the way, everyone we're talking to is at the $1 million level or above. So that's where we stand right now. Anybody have any questions?
Anybody got any questions for Tom? James?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Tom, thanks for your presentation and for and having been a part of the board recently. I definitely, with the new nationwide board and some of the activities that are happening, it's been very inspiring. I just wonder with the program that you may have already mentioned this. Do you have a goal in terms of fundraising for private dollars for 2024? Like, what do you expect to achieve for the organization in terms of private dollars?
Our goal this year is we have a couple initiatives going on, but the answer to that, the short answer is we want to raise $20 million this year alone.
Okay, good.
And so we have what we call our Low Country Leadership Initiative, and that's our local fundraising effort. That's a $20 million goal. We are at $11 million of that, and soon in June, a donor told us they're going to give us $1 million in cash, unrestricted. So that will go to 12 million. And then what that does is we have $8 million left to raise there, and we're working. We have a committee, a fundraising committee of board members and community members working on raising the additional $8 million that we need there. So that hopefully will hit the balance sheet this year. And then the other 12 will come. We're working with the state right now. There's a possibility that we can secure a large commitment, and I'm talking 20+ million moving forward in a multi-year scenario with the state as well. So 20 million is the number that we're looking for this year.
Thanks, Tom. Any other questions? If not, Tom, thanks so much for your time today. Appreciate it.
Thank you so much, Mr. Chairman. Thanks for allowing me the extra time to be here with you all today.
Thanks.
Let's do it again. Thank you.
Yeah. Allison, Executive Director's report.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I've just got a couple of things. Everyone received the report that I send out prior to every board meeting. That's a very comprehensive look at the work going on across all the departments. But a couple of things. So in the fall, the board directed our team to engage in an economic impact analysis. And so we have been working with Joey Von Nessen at the Darla Moore School of Business to do an economic impact analysis. The last one was done in 2017. His team is very well respected by the legislature. Everybody knows him.
Used him too.
The towns use him as well. They do a great job. And just to give you a brief overview, the purpose of the study is to complete a comprehensive analysis examining both the current economic impact of Patriots Point on the Charleston Tri-County region, as well as the long-run increase in this economic impact that will likely result from the new lease agreements associated with the Patriots Annex project. Moreover, this study will also provide a short and long-run economic overview and outlook for Charleston County and the state of South Carolina. Both regions are likely to experience among the highest rates of population growth in the U.S. over the next 2 decades, and this report will show how this growth will likely improve the likelihood of success among all business establishments that will be housed at the mixed-use development at Patriots Point, and thus increase the projected economic impact of Patriots Point. So we are ready to sign the contract and move ahead with him, and the board will have a draft delivered in mid-April, with the final report completed in May. So this will be incredibly helpful data for us, and we've followed up on the directive on that.
If I may, we hired him to do an economic impact statement a few years ago about the Shem Creek area when we were dealing with Corps of Engineers on the placement of the sediment for Crab Bank. And it was very enlightening, the info that we got. So I don't know if any of that, because that's got tourism and hospitality numbers and all too. Of course, that's old data, but the process was there.
Absolutely.
And the sources of the data were there. But we think that almost single-handedly made the difference in the Corps listening to the town about the placement of that sediment. So this is a good move.
It is a powerful document, and excited to get underway with it.
Especially since it impacts my town. So.
And he's highly respected in Columbia, too. And I think James and Brandon can attest.
Doesn't he do the economic forecast for the whole state, or he has?
He's done it before. He's done it for a whole host of things that the state's invested in. He's been a regular go-to.
He's on the economic advisors.
That's correct.
Too, right?
Yeah.
So, yeah. He did that study for us back when we were working on the deal with Bennett initially.
Okay.
When we were before we went to Columbia for approval.
Good.
Excellent.
Great.
Awesome.
And then just one more quick thing. We are now entering the 80th anniversary of the Laffey. Last year we celebrated the Yorktown's 80th birthday. This year it's the Laffey's 80th birthday. So we have put together a committee to put some events together for the Laffey's 80th, and James Smith has very graciously agreed to chair that committee. A grandson of a Laffey veteran, and Mike Honsiger with the Laffey Association will also be serving on that committee in addition to our team members. So we'll be getting together in 2 weeks and starting a series of meetings and putting together some great programming for the 80th anniversary of that wonderful ship. And that's all I've got for you.
All right, any questions of Allison? If not, we'll move into public comments. And I understand, is John Falkenberry still here?
I think he might have slipped out. Let me go grab him.
Yeah, I know.
Did he?
I had a text right getting out.
Yeah, would you mind grabbing him?
I know he wants to say something.
I just don't understand. James said he wanted to.
Update, just give us a brief update.
Yeah, he was.
Are there any other public comments while we're waiting on that? We'll give it a minute and then.
Where was it? For a second. All right, I'll share. I was fortunate to be in London right before Christmas and spent a lot of time on the HMS Belfast. I don't know if y'all ever visited, but really learned a lot from that experience in the way they engage, visitors of all ages. And they have this really neat book, particularly for young ones, and they have cats, little stuffed cats and mice placed in different parts of the ship that help tell the story about, like, this room is where they cook, and so the younger kids can have this little book to try to find each one of them and where they are. At the same time, they learn about the ship and how it operates and what each room is. I mean, it's really pretty smart. Yeah.
Did you find everything?
I did. It wasn't too hard, but they did a good job of, I think, engagement. And I think it's of course, has a great story. But did a good job of utilizing all of the space, and so they have a cafe in there and a couple of different. There's a place where I thought about our Microsoft relationship. They have a place where you can go in and actually play the video game. World of Warships or something like that, where you can actually play the actual ship and different historical battles, and that was a neat space, and really gave a couple of videos, a couple of things that I brought that I can share.
I tell you what, if we excuse me?
Field trip?
What?
Let's go. Yeah, let me go check.
No, I was. That didn't sound good.
There he is.
Oh, there you go. I was told that you wanted
Well, I just wanted to update you guys on events. So
Okay.
that's it. First off, thank you for allowing me to come up and talk. Got my exercise coming up the ladders. For the staff that's here, you got a great staff. You already know that. I would love working with them. March 25th, 24th, 25th, Medal of Honor Day. Bulk of us will be up in D.C. For the outreach and Tomb of the Unknowns, and then Citizens Honors Dinner. And you're all welcome if you want to come. I always reserve a space for you. Here, we're working with Chris and the team to do like we did last year, tours on the 24th, that Sunday, and then do a ceremony here on Monday. Not a wreath laying. I told General Livingston not a wreath laying, but honoring the Medal of Honor recipients and tying it into the Laffey and doing something on the Laffey there. Have some, get the mayor, yourself, probably General Livingston, to say some comments. Well, details on that are working, but we'll probably put the DAF, I call it, pardon the language, it's the big ass flag that you saw a couple years ago hanging here that Mayor Haney, where did the mayor go? Oh, there you go.
I'm right here.
There you go. Hang that hopefully off the island if it can do it, and if the ship to make it happen. The big date is May the 15th. That's the scheduled date for the reopening. There'll be an invitation going to, we're expecting 20 to 25 of the recipients. We'll have on the 14th a private dinner with the recipients, and I'm sure that there will be some invites for members of this august board. Mr. Mayor, we're looking at an event location right over here. I think, and I'll explain to you why Boone Hall is probably not the best location to go to. But there's this office complex right over here before you get to the Ravenel Bridge, where that traffic circle is. They have an event location there, so we'll do the event there, the dinner on the 14th. On the 15th, we'll have outreach. We're planning to do a similar panel discussion that you saw here in the Stover Theater. We're my education department to work with the ship's education department to do an educational program with students here on the morning of the 15th. Have a lunch here, probably in Hangar Bay 3. Is that what we're Hangar Bay 3? Then the opening of the museum, and then a reception afterwards. So we're planning to do everything with the recipients right here on the ship to do that. So those are the major events that are going forth right now. You're more than welcome after this meeting if you want to walk through the shell of the museum. We'd be happy to show you where it stands right now. We are on schedule. We are on budget, which is always a good thing. We can show you some of the designs if you'd like to see it, but we're very excited about the museum and what we're doing here. We're very excited about your guys' commitment to this society. So Wayne, thank you, and to the board, thank you. Any questions?
Any questions, John? I think that's awesome stuff, John. Thanks for updating us.
No worries.
Appreciate
Thank
that.
Thank you, John,
Thanks
very
for
much.
touch copies. Yeah, come see me.
Okay. No further public comments. Chair will entertain a motion moving to executive session for the discussion of legal and contractual issues with respect to remediation projects and a possible contractual arrangement concerning a curatorial collection. Moved and seconded. All in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed?
Aye.
The ayes have it. We'll move into executive session. Thank you. We'll take about a 5-minute break.
This is book on this. And, have you? Yeah. Oh, well, I just wanted to give you a copy.
Here, I appreciate it.
Bill, you got that Hilo helicopter, huh?
Yeah, I got the resolution right here, and then I've got Fourth Amendment.
We just haven't read one out.
Like, like,
Minute reaction.
that's been that much of a conversation.
Question about that. Where does that guy fill up with gas? He goes all day long.
Let's do.
Where?
Yeah, let's
He
do.
goes to the gas station or what?
LRO, no, it's.
Yeah.
He lands at the
Because
gas
I really
Hey,
want to talk to you.
what are the logistics of how that guy gets
Just
gas?
He also gets
Tight.
paid for
I'm doing a tightrope walk
parking
there.
lot, so he just puts that
I don't want to make anybody mad.
107 gallons over here.
Okay. Thank you, Brandon.
This is not on the agenda, and it's not.
That's the best part.
But we get lots of questions about the gas station at the head of the road. Why it looks so, I know. They started remodeling without a permit,
Right.
and so they had to get a cease and desist notice from us. So it's gonna look better, they're gonna fix it, but they thought, well, shoot, all this road's working, we'll just take that pavilion off. And I know it looks bad, but it's gonna get, I get asked that.
I wondered. It's funny. I would never ask you, but I.
We were told to be polite, not ask.
Who was told to be polite? Sorry, didn't get the memo.
No, that was the third amendment was to the end of last year. This would go until.
James, are you gonna make the motion about
29th, but it's
$250,000?
I'm
Sure. Yeah. I'm not sure.
And
All right.
We haven't legally reconvened yet.
Okay.
We're,
I don't know what it is. I stepped over there.
Well, just fumble through it.
Okay.
okay.
$250,000 for whatever we said.
We're back in open session. We're in, we're out of executive session. There were no motions, made.
Well, they're British.
Other business, Chair will entertain a motion to approve $250,000 of repairs necessary in order to undertake the assessment, structural assessment on the bow of the ship. Is that what we need? Is there a motion?
So moved.
Is there a second? Motion and second. Is there any discussion? Hearing none. All in favor of the motion to approve the $250,000 signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed?
Aye.
Ayes have it. It's unanimous. We also have a motion to extend the helicopter tours to December 31st.
29th. It's
29th.
a license.
I'm sorry, 29th.
Yeah.
It's a license.
Less than a year.
The 29th of December 24. Is there a motion to approve
So moved.
that? Been moved. Is there a second?
Second.
A second. Is there any discussion? And we've done this 2 or 3 times this year, I think.
Yeah.
Becoming a habit. Hearing none, all in favor of the motion to extend the license for the helicopters signify by saying aye.
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 All opposed? The ayes have it. It's unanimous. And our next, that's all meeting. Our next meeting is February 16th. And thank you so much for your time today. We are adjourned.
Does this ship serve water?
There's Keith's out there.
You can have some cold tea.
Hey, there's
Room temperature.
February 16th.
Darwin out here.